preach, that's better, it was quite a word. Some of the, over the last week, as I prepared for this morning, I've been mesmerized by the church again. And I suppose there are many pastors my age who are not mesmerized because the weight of carrying the burden of a spiritual community can be overwhelming. But every now and again, we get a glimpse of something beautiful happening. I remember years ago, me saying to John, can we go for a cup of coffee? Remember that, John? And saying, I see God's hand in your life in a special way. You're standing head and shoulders above the rest. And can we have coffee every now and again? And we had coffee, and there were times when he challenged me. This is the beauty of the church and so on. And this last week, I shared with the leadership about the church and how I've been challenged about the church. And John said, I asked them all to kind of give me one word that describes the church. And he said community. He said, like this last Sunday, I think it was last Sunday, he said the whole life group was sitting next to each other. And this one was holding that one's baby, and the other one was holding the other one's baby, and it was like this family that has come together. Like I sat there, I drove home, and I thought, like how amazing this young man, who is now not so young anymore, but still young by comparison, has just done this long walk of obedience. And on the other hand, on the other side, he has seen God's faithfulness. There are lots of. It wasn't just the baby that wasn't born alive that is part of their story. It's also around Adam and some of the questions they had whether he would be healthy and come out the other side. And their life group is so healthy. Beginning next year, we're going to get back into life groups in a big way. I'm going to challenge you guys who are not part of a life group. I know life is busy. But you have to be in a healthy community that helps you walk the road, So also this last week was fascinated. We have a guy in the church who works for IKEA. I don't know if you guys know the company IKEA. It's a Swedish company. And so he spends time, as he wants to, in Stockholm and time in Pretoria. And he said to me, I thought of going to Stockholm, but then I think of Eastside the church, and he said this last time, I just cut my time in Stockholm short to be in Eastside, and then he said, but then I think of my church in Stockholm. He goes to Hillsong in Stockholm, and he says, I don't want to miss out on the church there. And have you ever wondered why that happens to people? I mean, let's be honest. Let's look around. I mean, how much do we really have in common with each other? I mean, this is not a mountain biking club where everyone gets, that would have been wonderful, Dave? But there are some people who don't do mountain biking, Somebody the other day, there's some people who run in our church. Somebody quoted a Bible passage for me, so this is biblical. Only the wicked run if no one's chasing them, just think all of that through. There are people who have all kinds of interests, but for some or other reason, we come on Sunday morning. There's a mystery about the church that is fascinating me, even in this stage of my spiritual walk and in this part of my journey as a pastor of a local church. There is something that happens when we come together. Now, it's not always perfect. That's true. And I can tell you some horror stories. I haven't just seen the beauty of the church, but I've seen it when people are disappointed by the church. I've been disappointed. I was under the trees here one day, and I was having a grumbling session. You ever have those with the Lord? Someone, such and such a person in the church, Lord. They sit, let me choose an empty chair, somewhere in the middle here where there's, and Lord, on Sunday morning, if you could just go like lightning from heaven, and dematerialize them, the church would be such a much better place. I didn't really pray that prayer. And I remember being in this deep wrestle about the church and grumbling, and the Lord, I heard God's voice. One of those few times in my life where where God spoke to me in an audible voice. He said, Riaan, you're talking about my bride. Like, how would you like it if somebody spoke to Debbie like that? No, I wouldn't allow that. And so we were talking about it as pastors last week, and Smora said, so where in the Bible is that passage about the church being Jesus' bride? Well, it's in Ephesians 5, 25, 27. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loves the church. By the way, some of you who are wrestling through the beauty of marriage, did you know that God uses marriage and his relationship with the church as a metaphor? So that's how important marriage is. So if you're wondering this morning, don't be stupid. Go for gold. Okay. Husband, love your wife, just as Christ loves the church and gave himself up for her. He gave himself, Christ, to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word. And listen to this, and to present her to himself as a radiant church, without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. It's powerful words. And if you go to the end of the book, the Bible, into Revelation, it speaks about the wedding banquet when the church of Jesus Christ is going to be celebrated in heaven as the bride of Christ. So when we talk about the church, I mean, it's like holy stuff. By the way, there's a book that I want to recommend by a guy called Francis Chan. It's called Letters to the Church. If you want to be, and you can listen to it on audio, if you need some reading over the December period, great book. The Bride of Christ. In that book, Francis Schaeffer, he gets lost in praise when he talks about the bride and what God always intended it to be. And it's interesting. We're going to get to the book of Philippians in a minute, but it's interesting when it talks about the bride of Christ, it's the church. Have you ever thought about the church like that? Take a moment. We had 3 weddings in the house. Okay, I've had 3 weddings. Okay, one is Debbie's. I won't forget the day that you walked down the aisle. We had 2 others, 2 daughters that we gave off to young men who love the Lord, and we celebrate them. But weddings can be stressful, right? I see Gareth smiling in front of you. Like that week before, it's like the devil takes over the process somewhere. Am I right? It's just a lot, But what I'm always, so much goes into that moment when the bride walks down the aisle. I'll never forget Tammy Lynn's wedding. I was sitting, supposed to preach, and everyone had taken my time. And I'm sitting desperately, this is the truth, an hour and a half beforehand. I go, Lord, I really need to finish the message for the wedding. And Debbie knocks on the door, and she goes, something terrible has happened. And I'm like, what else can happen? That's terrible. And the zip on Tammy Lynn's wedding dress had just broken. And she said, what are we going to do? I said, well, get her dressed. We're going to sew her into her wedding dress, which is what we did. And then when we got to the church, she said, I need to go to the bathroom. Weddings, But everything goes into, just now I'm going to ask the question, why is it that brides have to be made beautiful? Okay. But the wedding day is their time to shine, isn't it? And just think for a moment. This is the bride of Christ. It's our time to shine. And so let's go on to the next verse. Next slide. Therefore, my dear friends, we get back into our study of Philippians. By the way, we're going to stop our study of Philippians here. And beginning of January, we're going to pick it up again. Because everything in the book of Philippians leads up to the verses after what I'm preaching about today. And it's the how-to, all of it is in chapter 4. Okay. But this is what it says. Chapter 2, therefore, my dear friends, as you have always obeyed, not only in my presence, but now much more in my absence. Continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. For it is God who works in you. It's God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill His good purposes. So God doesn't call us just to fulfill His purposes, but He works in us to make it happen, Do everything without grumbling or arguing. Think of me in the garden. So that you may become blameless and pure. God's bride becoming blameless and pure. Children of God without fault in a warped and crooked generation. Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky. Think about that for a minute. God who works in you to will and act according to His purpose. When I think about the church in Philippians, I think about the church that probably shouldn't have been. I mean, there is no logic about how this church came together. There is, throughout the book, there is the mystery of God sending His Son that comes out as you read it, especially in chapter 2. Your attitude should be the same as that of Jesus Christ, who became obedient to the point of death. Okay, so how do you explain? The Bible says the whole universe cannot contain God, who created everything. If you can read John chapter 1, it gives you a clear understanding that Jesus, the Son of God, made everything. Okay, so, and the Bible says the world cannot contain Him. So now help me to understand, how can that which the world cannot contain fit into a woman's womb for 9 months? It's a mystery, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't fit, There is the mystery of Paul, the guy who goes off to Macedonia. He was a Hebrew of the Hebrews. He was an influential person. He had all the credentials. He mentions them in the book. And then one day, he's on the road to Damascus, and Jesus reveals Himself to him, and everything changes in his life. Everything he learned, everything he had stood for, everything is reframed. Somehow the story of the Son of God who created everything, who lived on earth, who died. At that stage, Paul didn't believe He was resurrected. He was resurrected, and when the story of Jesus intersected Paul's life, everything changed. What is that? I had that experience when I was 13 years old. When the story of Jesus intersected with my life, everything changed. It's a mystery. Some of you have experienced that. I mean, there's the mystery of the church itself. In the middle of the night, Paul is so taken now by the story of Jesus that he feels everyone should know. And so he's out there, he's on his second missionary journey, and they try and go in all directions. In the middle of the night, he has a vision. There's a guy in Macedonia saying, "Come over here." And in the morning, they all jump on their camels, they're off to Macedonia. And a church is birthed. I mean, it makes no sense. It's the church that should not have been. It's against all logic. And then Paul leaves as the leader. But the church is still there, years later, in the middle of all kinds of other things that should have squashed the church. The mystery of it all. If you read the book a little bit further, there's this guy called Timothy and the other guy called Epaphroditus, and Paul commends them. At the end of chapter 2, he says, there is Timothy, I'm sending him to you so that you guys may grow in your faith and that you might be the church that God has called you to be. But there is no one like him. Why would Timothy go there? To strange people that he does not know. He mentions the guy Epaphroditus, who's struggling with his health. In fact, Paul writes, he says, his care for you almost killed him. The mystery of God's call in our life, of God saying, I want you to be there. And I have a confession to make. When I studied engineering up here, I said to the Lord, Lord, I will follow you anywhere. Please don't send me back to Pretoria. I really did say that, you know. I had all kinds of other, you can send me to the Middle East. You can send me anywhere. I don't know why that, because Debbie and I spent over 30 years of our, well, almost 30 years of our married life, yeah, and we've been very happy. But, you know, like, what is that? That someone feels that. On Friday night, by the way, we had Abbotspride Thanksgiving dinner. It was the best one ever. The place was packed out, story after story after story. No logic stories, mystery stories of how God did this and changed that. And one of the pastors from one of the under-resourced communities, Pastor Opa, came up to me and we long chat, and he said to me, you know, people have said to me I was moving to the city. And then he told me how opportunities have come up for him to get a better salary, do better things, and in the eyes of some. And he says, but what do I do with this thing? This thing that God has told me to be in that community. And so, I mean, he lives in a really under-resourced community, but the mystery of God's call, where God allows you to go, and here's the other thing. What does Pastor Opa do from a day to day? Well, he cares for people. He prays for people. Why does, I mean, saying a few words, closing your eyes, saying a few words, the mystery of it all. And he tells people the Jesus story, and people's lives are changed. What is that? Jesus said to his disciples, I want you to go to Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the uttermost parts of the earth. And, you know, and just be my witnesses. Sometimes we make it so difficult. We think like, you know, if I could study theology, or if I could, and I need all of these things in place to be able to be powerful in my Christian living, to shine brightly, I need all of those things. Jesus says to his disciples, you bunch of guys, all of you have denied me except John. Okay, he didn't quite say it like that. Allow me a little bit of poetic license, which is true. He had to have a breakfast with them so that they could have confidence to stand, because they all ran away. Not just Judas or Peter. It says all of them except John. And he stands with them and he says to them, why would he do this? He says, I want you to go to Jerusalem. All power in heaven has been given to me. I want you to go to Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, the uttermost parts of the earth. And I want you to just be my witnesses. I want you to tell the Jesus story. And when you do that, a power will be released and people's lives will be changed and transformed. I asked them for that special effect of a jet to fly over at this point, you know. It's a mystery. So let's continue our study. Now, stopping it there, one would think that the church is this amazing, powerful piece of machinery that God has brought about. Power is going to be unleashed wherever we are. But all is not as it seems in the backyard of the church. So read with me. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, Paul writes in Philippians 4. Why therefore? All of these other things. Jesus died. All of these other things that we have been speaking for, because all of that is possible. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, you whom I love and long for, my joy and crown, stand firm in the Lord in this way, dear friends. Okay, here it comes. The church is not a perfect place. I plead with Yodia and I plead with Syntyche to be of the same mind in the Lord. Yes, and I ask you, my true companion. We don't know who the true companion is. I tried to really find out, and somebody in the church that he has entrusted the letter to. Help these women, since they have contended at my side in the cause of the gospel, along with Clement and the rest of his co-workers, whose names are in the book of life. Now, what is the end game? What is Jesus' end game? Names in the book of life. What does that imply? You pick it up in the book of Revelation. Is that one day we are children of the resurrection. One day, some of our loved ones have gone. They're there now. We're going to join them, all of us together. Everything is going to come to a close on earth here. And when Jesus says it is finished, when God the Father says it is finished, the world will change. And everything will get better, and we'll all be there worshiping together. And the Lamb's Book of Life is going to be open and say, Samora, is your name there? Sarah, is your name there? Dave, is your name there? And so there is another mystery, so just by praying to Jesus and saying, Jesus, I accept you into my life, there's an angel in heaven that has the gift of administration, and I don't know if he types or he writes or what, maybe he writes. Cursive writing is always nice. Not mine. Debbie's was, Abigail's is, Riaan, and my name is, and the mystery of it all, guys. But then there are these two women here. Now let's just work with me here a little bit. A couple of things that are really important in this little picture that we pick up here is that things aren't always as it seems in the church. And people are often asked the question, why do people get so wounded in the church? I think it's because we have such high expectations, right? This is the bride of Christ. We come to church because this is where we will find God's presence. This is where we will find people that we can connect with. This is where we can hang with people. This is where we will not get disappointed. But you can read the stories that Paul mentions in all his letters. We will get disappointed. Why is that? Why do people, you read about these two, we'll talk about it in a minute. They were at Paul's side. They were contending for the faith. The Greek word there is they wrestled for the faith. The picture there could be of somebody who wrestles to the point of death. This is not like we had a quiet little Bible study somewhere. We walked to the point where we could even lose. They could have lost their lives next to me. That's what Paul says. They contended. They didn't come and do ministry with me. They contended, and now they can't get on. Why is that? Why does that happen in the church? Well, the clue is in chapter 2, the first passage I read, it says, where they shine like stars in a wicked and depraved generation. So why is it that you can possibly come undone like one of these two people? Because you are a child or a daughter of somebody who's come, of a wicked and depraved generation. And this is where you can have fun. I want you to turn next to the person next to you and say, you come from a wicked and depraved generation. Okay, I was just joking. Some of you look like you really wanted to do that, Guys, what do you expect from the church? We're all broken people. But somehow, and this is the mystery of it all, Jesus died so that when we come with all of our stuff, that something beautiful will come out of that. And here's the thing. Every time we read about this, he writes, it's in the plural, therefore my brothers and my sisters, you whom I long for. There's the plurality of it all gives the indication, it is not just one flickering light that God wants to use. You shine like stars, plural. You, plural. You shine like stars, plural. In the universe, amongst the wicked, depraved generation. The mystery is that God is busy working and doing something beautiful in our church that will make us shine brightly. I want you to think about that for a minute. So let's go on to the next slide. I want to highlight just a couple of words here, and then I'm going to close. Therefore, my brothers and sisters. So how do we apply this in our lives? It's a bit difficult because you actually need to read the whole chapter. So maybe a good exercise for you to do would be to go and read the whole chapter about how to do it. But it starts here. It says, therefore, my brothers and sisters, you whom I love and long for, my joy and crown. Why would he say that? Because there's two women, and another place you pick up there was some other tensions in the church. Well, Paul has got a heavenly perspective that it is God who is working in the church in other people. It's not Him having to make them be what He wants them to be. God is mysteriously working, bringing the church to a point where it will be the beautiful bride, like my joy and my crown. Stand firm in the Lord. Where does that start? There's something that we need to do. It actually starts with a decision. It's the most wonderful time of the year for us to shine. We've got a Christmas tree full of names that people have hung there in 2 previous services of people that you want to somehow, you want to help them to experience the story of Jesus for themselves over the Christmas period. They're lighting our whole building up. Our whole property is going to be lit up as symbolic of we are the light of the world. It says, Isaiah writes, he says, in the land of Zebulun, a great light has come about. And we are the next generation of people that God wants to use to shine the light, But it starts with standing firm and saying, this is who I am. I'm a Christ follower. And, stand firm in the Lord in this way, dear friends. And I plead with these 2 women to be of the same mind in the Lord. What that means is that sometimes to be of the same mind, we have to let go of our mind. We can be so opinionated, but we're never going to get to that middle. Marriages, couples have sat in front of me and I go like, wow, you can't talk to each other because of this. Of course I can't say this, but I'm thinking like, really? This is the thing that's keeping you from talking to each other. There's only one creature in the universe that's celebrating right now, Satan, because he divides and he conquers. Stand firm. Okay, we're going to do what God says, irrespective of the way we feel. Yes, and I ask you, my true companion, help these women. This is the beauty of it all, of the church, is that I was saying to some guys over the week when I was thinking about this message, I was saying, I've been able to minister in some really dysfunctional churches, where like you really sometimes, years ago I was in a church leadership meeting and I went home and I wondered whether all the leaders knew the Lord. It was that bad. It was and I don't want to say more because it wasn't an Eastside leadership meeting, so just default. It's like people were glaring at each other, and I'm like, wow, help these women. So you go back to the bride. Okay, so let's ask the question. Why is it that a bride spends so much money, so much effort, mother of the bride takes so much time to make sure that the bride goes and gets the most beautiful dress, goes to that one person that can do the makeup properly, prepares the hair with all kinds of shampoo for that moment, because the next day they're going to wake up and wash the makeup off. Maybe, there is this thought that maybe the bride isn't perfect enough. It sounds terrible, doesn't it? Maybe I should use another picture, but why would we want to? Why? It's just person to person getting married, why do we have these elaborate weddings? Because God is busy doing the same thing with the church, We want to beautiful. He wants us to be beautiful. God wants you to be beautiful. He wants you to shine. He wants you to stand. Shine like the stars in the universe, And Peter writes about beauty that women have, by the way. He speaks about a beauty that doesn't fade. And we won't go into that for a minute, but 1 Peter, you can go and read it. He says, women shouldn't just make themselves beautiful, but they should grow the inner beauty. It doesn't fade. Because all of us wake up next to our wives one morning and go, there's a wrinkle. Oh no. There's a gray hair. Oh no. We don't do that. Hopefully you don't do that. But guys, there's something else that God is doing, and there is this word contend, going to take the effort. Help these women contend. And the question is, can we contend together for the nation, for the city, and for our marriages, for our family in the season that is coming, so that names will be written in the Lamb's Book of Life. So I'm going to close it there because I think it speaks for itself. It is true that the church isn't perfect. But it's true that the church will shine. It's not perfect because we live in a wicked, depraved generation. Have a look around. Somehow the newspaper articles today is much worse than what they were 30, 35 years ago. But God is at work doing something special. And what I want to ask you guys to do this morning, I'm going to pray for you. And what I want you to do is, I want you just to say to God, God, I know that you are working in my life. God, will you help me to shine as brightly as I can shine? In an ideal world, we would have had candles up here, but we're a Baptist church. We don't do that. I would have asked you guys to come light a candle. Each one lighted a candle, then another candle, then another candle. And then we're giving you the perfect impression of how it just gets brighter and brighter and brighter. But it starts with each one of you. So let me pray for you. Lord, thank you that you mysteriously work in the church. And that's so encouraging to me, Lord, as a pastor of this church, that you are building your church. You are making your church beautiful for yourself. Because there are so many things that I can't control. So will you come and work? But Lord, I pray that you stir everyone's heart for them to contend to shine as brightly as they can. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. So maybe just turn as before the rest of the guys come up here. Or you turn left and right and just go like, did you know that you are the bride of Christ? Will you shine brightly?
All right, everybody, can we give Riaan a round of applause? Thank you.
Now.
Awesome.
Yeah, so church, as you can see, all of us have very red shirts on this morning. And I'm going to tell you about that in a second, but we're going to be bringing some of the announcements to you this morning. And the first thing that I want to share with you is, I just want to point you in direction to Everything Moraletta. It's a QR code that is right behind me, should be up on the screen. There it is. This is where you go for those of you that are new. If you'd like any information about the church, you might want to check out the website. You might want to fill out a Connect card. You might have prayer requests that you want to put on that Connect card. If you scan that QR code, it'll take you through to our Everything Moraletta page where all the information about everything that you might need to know will be found over there. So you can scan that QR code. Now, the shirts that we are currently wearing, they are very red. Can I get an amen to that? Yeah? All right, so the idea behind this church is we are going into a season where we are really trusting that there is going to be a lot of new people on the Eastside property. We've spoken about Kerstliggies that is happening over December time. We've also spoken about how the Sunday services throughout this December period, with carol service being next week, Sunday, is a time where people really think about church and community and potentially coming to church. And so I just felt the need to say this morning. We at Eastside are not crazy, okay? We know that red might not be your favorite color. We know that there are other materials that you can get that are far more expensive and far more comfortable, but here's the idea behind the shirts. We can do as much marketing as we want to with Kerstliggies and with our Sunday services, with carol service leading up to Christmas Day, but we really believe that God is inviting you as a church to be the bridge, to be that connection point between you people coming onto the property to actually people considering coming to church on a Sunday. Because of Kerstliggies, they're expecting thousands of people to come onto the property. And so we actually want to ask a few things from you. The first thing is, these shirts cost 165 Rand. Is that correct? 165 Rand. Now, we know you might be able to get shirts for cheaper somewhere else, but here's what we want to ask from you. If you are a volunteer, we want to ask you to buy these shirts, first thing. Second thing, we want to ask you to wear these shirts every Sunday during the Christmas period, and also if you come to Kerstliggies, which we hope that you do come to as well. And the third thing is, we're actually going to make the shirt sales available to the whole church. So if you want to buy one, you can let us know. Now, we know that for some of you, money is an issue. You might not have 165 Rand. Please just be honest with us about that. And we are happy to cover the cost. But if you can afford it, we want to ask you to buy these shirts, not so that you can be a great fashion symbol, but so that you can bridge the gap and reach our community for Jesus. And when you think about it like that, 165 Rand isn't that big of a deal, is it? And so volunteers, if you are in a part of a volunteer team at Eastside, your ministry leader will reach out to you about getting your size and you buying the shirt. And if you're someone who comes to Eastside, but you also want to get a shirt because you want to just be the presence that we really need here during Kerstliggies and on Sundays, please will you fill out a connect card and just say, I want a shirt, and leave your contact details there, and we'll reach out to you and we'll get your size and we'll make that happen.
Yeah, that's right. We're still continuing with our Abbots Pride Drive. If you did not know, Abbots Pride is embarking on just an ambitious project for the Christmas season.
Yeah.
Did you know you can feed a family of 4 for 10 days for only 250 Rand?
Sure.
I know last time you spent 250 Rand, but for me, it wasn't on anything useful. But you can take your 250 Rand and you can make it go towards something that will have a very big impact. And so you'll see that after the service, as you walk out of the hall, they have a table set up there. You can find more information about that, and you can sponsor a child, sponsor their family for 250 Rand. The reality is that most of the churches that Abbots Pride works with and the kids that they work with all rely on a meal from either the aftercare program or the early childhood development center where they go every day in order for them to have a meal. But in order to bridge the gap for meal security, we want to be able for them to go home and in the Christmas season still be able to enjoy a warm meal every single day. So as you walk out of here, please make your way. Please stop by and just give that gift of a meal, of meals for a family for that period, for that Christmas period.
And so, guys, we are 1 week away from Carol service. Are you guys excited?
Insane.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Insane.
I can't believe it. This month has been a blur, but we just really want to encourage you guys to invite as many people as possible. You have actually got a little flyer on your chair that has important details of, like, there's 4 p.m. water slides.
If you don't know where it is, just sitting on it.
You are. And there's going to be water slides for the kids. I mean, adults too. If you've got that childlike spirit which we call to have, right? And there'll be water slides from 4 to 5:30. The carol service will start at 6 p.m. promptly. There's going to be a massive surprise at the end that you are not going to want to miss. But more than that, we know you guys are probably going to kind of come because you love Eastside and this is your home. But I want to actually go back to like Holiday Club. And I don't know if you remember with Holiday Club, every week there was a flyer on your chair. And it had needs, and we told you to invite people. And actually, Trevor Shefferman, he grabbed a couple extra, and in his estate, he went and put, I can't remember, it was under the door in the post box. And this family decided to come to Holiday Club. They had heard about it, and then when Trevor, who's a very, they were like, oh, he's a trustworthy guy. If he says this is a good thing to go to, we'll go to. And their kids came to Holiday Club. And the older daughter gave her, I'm confused, but they both gave their lives to the Lord because of Holiday Club. Because
Sure.
Trevor took a little piece of paper and he slipped it under the door, and their lives were forever changed. So I was like, oh, I'm actually going to take a few and take some press stick and go stick it on my neighbor's gates and just invite people. You've got nothing to lose. And so we really want to encourage you, take this, give it to somebody. If you see some extra, there's some empty chairs, so grab some of those extra ones, hand them out. And trust with us that lives would really be changed through our carol service.
That's right. On the 14th of December, we are going to be having a movie night. Yeah. Now, the cool thing about our friends at Kerstliggies is that they have a giant screen that they're going to have outside. And so we've decided to co-opt it for that night, especially for you guys. Isn't that great? All right, I'm the
I'm
only one who's
excited.
excited
I'm
about
super
it.
excited.
But we're gonna put on a movie. We're gonna have popcorn on sale. We're gonna have buri rolls on sale. Invite your friends, invite your family, invite your neighbor down the street, invite your coworker, invite your enemy. Everyone needs to be at this one. It is gonna be from 6 p.m. on that evening. We're gonna have buri rolls. We're gonna have popcorn, and we're gonna be watching a movie. I think the movie you're gonna be watching is called The Star.
Yeah.
It's a Christmas movie. Just invite everyone to come along and bring a camp chair, bring a blankie, whatever makes you feel comfortable, and we're going to be out on the field, and we're going to enjoy an evening of movie together and just having a good time.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So obviously we've spoken a lot about the Christmas time, and the word Kersliggies has been thrown around
So much.
quite a bit. So as you guys know, Kersliggies is going to be setting up lights all over this property. So we're not just talking about like your fairy lights that you hang around a Christmas tree. We are talking about some very impressive, very big, very much putting Lawley Street to shame kind of lights.
Hey, that's a big statement.
And so, and I mean it. I should back it though. So from the 5th of December, this property church is going to be lit up from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. every evening. There are just going to be lights all over the show. And this is a great opportunity to bring your families. I mean, kids love lights. I still really love lights.
Me too.
And it's just like it just builds the Christmas spirit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so it's a beautiful opportunity that we have as a community to host something like this. But also actually for you to invite your friends and let that be a connection point to bringing them to Eastside. Yeah. So from the 5th of December, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. every single night, there's going to be lights all over here. And we want to encourage you to join, but also to actually wear your Eastside shirts.
Wear
So
your
people
Eastside
can see
shirts.
that we're not just a property, we're actually a church as well.
That's good.
Yeah?
That's good. And the last one is summer camp. We are going to
Second
summer
last
camp. I've
one.
spoken about it. What'd you say?
Second last one.
Oh, second last one.
Last one for you.
We've spoken about summer. Okay, just let me do it, okay? We're going to summer camp. I don't know what else to say about summer camp. If you have a teenager who hasn't signed up yet, if you know someone who has a teenager and you're like, they need to go to camp, this is your opportunity. In fact, tomorrow night will be the closing of registrations for summer camp. So you have only 2 more days to sign up your kids. And I want to encourage you parents of teenagers, if you know someone in your family and you're like, that would be good, please sign them up. Please make the arrangements for them to come. We would love to have them there. But as I said before, we're celebrating today. And so what we've decided to do is, as you walk out the doors, you'll see the summer camp tables. We will give away a cookie for the first 100 people to visit the summer camp table. So you will get on the house, just to say thank you for your participation and your support over the last couple of weeks as we've been trying to raise funds. And the other thing you'll see is we provided a QR code. We are going to set up a summer camp prayer group specifically for summer camp. So we will send prayer points, updates from summer camp, which is only about 2.5 weeks away now, all on that. So if you guys could start right now, praying for me especially, but praying for every single teenager that they would meet Jesus Christ in a special way in the next couple of weeks. Sure.
And so the last announcement is I actually want to say thank you for all of you who've put your hands up to serve over the December period. This is obviously a lot of people evacuate to the coast. It's the 1st December. I'm going to be here as long as I'm going to be here. It's quite weird. But thank you for those of you who've already put your hands up to serve. My kids ministry team is full. I think our welcome team is full. But we are really just still needing some volunteers to help us with the coffee ministry. So those are the people who set up the coffee filter. What do you call those?
Filter coffee.
The filter coffee, the free tea and coffee that is available. We are really needing people just to put their hands up and serve on those 4 Sundays, the 7th, the 14th, the 21st. And the 28th. So if you would be keen to be a part of that, could you fill it out on the Connect card, pop it into the red post box, and Francie will get hold of you. Thanks so much, guys.
Amazing. Can I ask you to stand, church? We're just going to pronounce the blessing of the Lord on us as we leave this place. And if you feel comfortable, I just want you to stretch your hands out in front of you as if you're receiving a gift, because I believe that you are. And I'm just going to pronounce this over you as we leave. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Church, go in the peace of the Lord, even as you go into the rest of the week. Be blessed. Grace and peace to you all.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Now you can rush off to go get the cookies. First 100. Don't forget.